Hey everyone, the American League Championship Series matchup is all set. The Baltimore Orioles and Kansas City Royals get set for Game 1 that arrives on Friday. I'm Ted Keith along with Steve Cannella to break down the ALCS. Steve, the first question I think is the long layoff. Does it impact one team more than the other, and how does it impact the pitching?
Well, I think it's not going to impact one more than the other because they're both going to have the same layoff. And what it does allow is both teams to align their rotations, get their frontline starters going in Game 1. For the Royals, that's probably an advantage because it gets James Shields, their ace by name only, I think. He's underperformed generally. But James Shields will pitch in Game 1. That's good for them, so they'll get him for multiple starts during the series. For the Orioles, I think it doesn't matter as much because their top three are sort of interchangeable. Chris Tillman, Wei-Yin Chen, and Miguel Gonzalez. They're sort of interchangeable. I think they're all very effective, but none of them can really be called a number one starter. So I think this really, maybe if it's a slight advantage for the Royals in that they get James Shields to go in Game 1.
One of the guys that we know is not going to be a part of the series, most likely is going to be Chris Davis, who's still suspended because of the Adderall that he tested positive for toward the end of the regular season. So two questions here. One is, will the Orioles miss him? They obviously didn't miss him against Detroit. And two, what does Buck Showalter do to kind of compensate? Does he play someone like Delman Young more? Does he keep Steve Pearce at first base? How does he make this work?
Chris who? Chris Davis sat out last couple weeks of September. He sat out the division series, obviously. Against the Tigers, the Orioles didn't skip a beat. They really haven't missed him. Chris Davis was a source of power during the year, but he really struggled most of the year anyway. The Orioles, one thing they don't lack is hitters who can hit the ball out of the park. I don't think they're going to miss Chris Davis at all in this series. I don't think they need to put him on the roster. They don't need to play a man short for 5 games. And I think Buck can just keep doing what he's been doing. Yes, Delman Young's going to get a little more time. He had a big hit against the Tigers in Game 2 of the ALDS. Steve Pearce has been swinging the bat really well for them all year. He's been a real revelation for them. I think Showalter, he has plenty of options to fill in for Chris Davis. They've done just fine with not just Chris Davis. They've been missing Matt Wieters and Manny Machado. They're two of their bigger stars most of the year. Haven't skipped a beat. This team is deep. They're very underrated. Buck has lots of options.
Speaking of the managers, Buck Showalter, everybody loves to praise. Ned Yost, everyone loves to, what's the opposite of praise?
This is not a fair fight in the managing department, is it?
Well, who does have the edge here? I mean, obviously, whatever Ned Yost, whatever you think of the decisions he's made, they've worked out so far. Mm-hmm. And he has his team playing his sort of brand of baseball, and they seem to like playing it that way. Does that hold up against a manager like Showalter, who you think could run tactical circles around someone like Ned Yost?
I don't think it does. I mean, I think you're right. Ned Yost has his team playing his brand. He manages his own style, let's put it that way. And he's been pulling rabbits out of hats so far in the postseason. I don't know that he can keep doing that against a guy like Buck Showalter. The other advantage Showalter has is not just tactically as good as the Royals bullpen is when it comes time to making late game decisions. Showalter not only is a genius at running a bullpen, he has tons of options down there. He's got Andrew Miller. The bridge to get to closer Zach Britton is long and deep for the Orioles. I think the Orioles even have an advantage over the Royals in that department. Even if Buck weren't a strategic genius, he has enough weapons down there that even if he makes the quote-unquote wrong move with his bullpen late in the game, he can get away with it a little more than Ned Yost can. But this is a team of contrast in a lot of other ways. Offensively, how do you see the series shaking out?
Well, I like the Orioles offense. I like any team that can hit the ball out of the ballpark this time of year because you look throughout that lineup, guys like Steve Pearce comes out of nowhere and hits 20 home runs. We know what Delman Young is capable of doing in the postseason. He doesn't even get into the lineup for them most days. J.J. Hardy's a guy who has proven power, and again, he's not a guy you think of. And of course, Nelson Cruz, who seems like can't go 2 games in the postseason without hitting a big home run. So I would much rather be in Buck Showalter's shoes right now because you have that proven commodity. The Royals are succeeding offensively, but in a smaller sample size and with guys that you're still not entirely sure they're going to keep it going. Mike Moustakas really had a pretty dreadful year, which has become the norm for him, frankly, offensively. 2 home runs in the division series. I don't think you count on that going forward. Maybe Eric Hosmer keeps it going, but I don't know that guys like Salvador Perez and Mike Moustakas who've had those big hits are someone you can bank on the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think Eric Hosmer is going to be a really interesting and fun player to watch in this series. This is a guy who we've been waiting to become a star since he was the number 3 pick in the 2008 draft. It's been a little slow coming, but let's not forget, this guy's still only 25 years old. He has looked great in the postseason this far. If he can take that next step in this LCS and really bring that added power dimension to the Royals lineup, something they've missed all year, something that can go along with running the bases like rabbits as they love to do. This could be Eric Hosmer's postseason, and if the Royals are going to win, I think he has to be the key for their offense.
We're going to find out soon enough. One thing we know for sure, the end of a very long American League championship drought. The Baltimore Orioles haven't been to the World Series since 1983. Kansas City Royals haven't been there since 1985. One of them will be there in 2014. For Steve Cannella, I'm Ted Keith.